Guys, welcome back to the S.U.R.E Parenting Podcast, where every mom deserves to feel sure of her parenting. I'm your host, Sandy Bell, creator of S.U.R.E Parenting and author of S.U.R.E Parenting, Building Blocks to Create Their Best Childhood. Here on the podcast, we address the issues that make moms question themselves or their kids, and we discuss creative solutions that meet the needs of each unique mother and child. Let's dive in.
Hi, and welcome back to the S.U.R.E Parenting channel and podcast. Today, I wanted to share with you some of the takeaways that I was able to receive from the event that I attended this weekend. I drove down with a friend to Yin On Fire outside of Cedar City, and it was tremendous. It was an incredible experience. I got to see so many different speakers and attend different classes and get to learn from them sharing their gifts. A huge amount of just celebrating people for who they are, what they have in themselves that's unique to them, and allowing each person to really be themselves and however that expresses. And it was really incredible. So today I want to talk about whether or not you're really holding space. So for those that don't know, that phrase is referring to when somebody is really dysregulated. Usually it's our kid, and it's our role in their dysregulation. It's to hold space. So one of my favorite speaker teams there was Henry and Taryn Amar. And for them in their marriage, they have a version of holding space where Henry will notice that Taryn's feeling a little off and say to her, or she might say to him, do you want me to hold the trash can? And she might say, hey, I need you to hold a trash can for me. And it sounds kind of silly, but visually and mentally and emotionally, it helps him kind of get set, right? Because he has a natural inclination to be a fixer. And so he tells his own mind, to fix it, I'm going to hold the trash can. It gives him something to do. And this is a metaphorical trash can. And you can put your arms out as big or as small as the person needs if you need that visual. But really it's metaphorical. And what that means is you're going to let them vent. You're going to let them talk about their experience. You're going to let them share. And you're not going to try to fix it. You're going to create the safe container within which they can pour out whatever it is that feels stuck inside. And there's a couple reasons that we do this. One, some people are verbal processors. As they do that, they start to actually make sense of the situation. Two, when people come to their own conclusions, they are much more powerful lessons than when they're told every single time what to think, what to do. Three, emotions want to be felt. It's energy that needs to be moved through the body. So a really good way that we do that is verbally. Sometimes verbally is how we move those feelings through our body and release them. And at the end of that experience, Henry will say, do you want any input? Do you want to talk about some ideas? Or do you want me to just tie it up and throw it out? And she said that about 90% of the time, they'll talk ideas and strategies. And about 10% of the time, she's like, nah, just throw it out. And that's it. That's what he does. And so this is, something that won't make sense to maybe a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. But it could be a really good strategy to use with your teen, because they want to be viewed as competent. They want you to believe them that what they're going through is hard, but also believe in them that they can get through it. And sometimes they want ideas, but sometimes that's not what they're asking for. What they're really asking for is somebody to listen to them and see them in their struggle and still think them valuable and worthy and intelligent and capable. And when we rush in to fix it, that is our vote of no confidence. That is us saying, we don't believe that you can handle this. And we really can harm their esteem in that way. And so it's difficult. That's why I like the analogy, because it allows you to do something, right? Quote unquote, do something when you're not really taking the fixing actions. The other thing that we mean when we are talking about holding space is allowing the other person to feel. Most of us grew up in a way where it was not okay to feel deep sadness or very powerful anger. And so we carry that in our nervous system. We have a part of us that is really and honestly terrified of those feelings coming up in our children. And so we see, our 4-year-old, and they're so mad and they're knocking over their Lego tower and they're screaming. And some part of us is so scared to see that because we were not allowed to do that. And if we got anywhere close to that, something bad was going to happen. And so there's this part that comes up that goes, oh yeah, this, I can't do this. Nope, I can't do this. Nope, this needs to stop right now. It needs to stop. Right. And that might be a part that was for and got in trouble for having those big feelings. It could also be a part that was never seen and heard and has learned to associate the sadness they felt then with abandonment or lack of attunement. And for you at that point, that might have been true. You were feeling deep sadness and grief because there was an abandonment or a lack of attunement. But that doesn't mean that all sadness and grief means the same thing. Sometimes you really are sad because something that you loved is gone. Something is broken. Something didn't work out the way that you wanted it to, right? I have a client whose school is giving away a bunny. And the child decided in their mind, that's my bunny. They named the bunny. They have a mental plan. This is happening. This is my bunny. And they came home and told mom that they were getting a bunny. And mom is renting a room from somebody else right now. There's no opportunity for a bunny. Mom doesn't want to take care of a bunny. This is not going to happen, right? And so there is a mismatch in the child's expectation and the reality of the situation. And that elicits a lot of feeling. There is a grief of loss. There is a sadness of lack of control. There is a disappointment in not getting what you want. For some reason, as parents, very many of us have an issue with our children wanting what they want. They always say, he always wants exactly whatever he wants. Well, yeah, he's not going to want something he doesn't want. That's normal. That's natural. There's nothing wrong with wanting. And we don't have to stop the feelings. We have to feel the feelings. And a lot of times our children end up mirroring in us those same feelings that we still haven't felt. We see that deep, painful grief, and we want to not feel it ourselves. So our mirror neurons are clicked on and we're starting to feel this grief the way that our child is feeling it. And we're going, oh, heck no, I'm not doing that. It's not safe. That's bringing up things that I am not ready to deal with. Nope, stop it. You need to stop because I can't handle it. And so a huge, huge 90% part of this entire organized event is about really and truly feeling your feelings. That is how you work through trauma. That is how you release and let go. That is how you forgive. That is how you learn. That is how you grow. That is how you make difficult decisions. It is allowing your feelings to be the messengers that they are intended to be. That is not adding a bunch of stories on top with your thinking brain. It is allowing your gut to feel what it needs to feel. And that's hard. If you've never done it before and now you're 35 and you're trying to figure it out and it feels really hard, it is. You're right. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to feel frustrated with yourself or disappointed that, you're already whatever age and you haven't figured this out yet. Maybe you feel anger towards your parents because they didn't teach you. And maybe that anger needs to be felt. And then you can get underneath it and feel the compassion for the fact that nobody taught them either. And that is sad. There's a grief in that. There's a grief that you've been living for a couple decades now as an adult without these skills and this knowledge. Oof. Maybe there's some embarrassment. Okay, feel it. Accept it and feel it. And what you learn is that the feelings themselves are not dangerous. They're just a messenger. They're a messenger about your value system. They're a messenger about potential threats in your environment. They're a messenger about things that need to be thought of in a different way. They're just a messenger. And so when we allow those feelings in ourselves and in somebody else, then those messages can actually be received. Then the feeling can go. It can move on. We don't have to be stuck in it. There's so often this story of, okay, like that's enough now. Like that's enough. Just move on. You can't rush it. The more you rush it, the more our child has to cling to those feelings because they deeply need to be witnessed. They need to be seen and accepted. Sometimes they want to know what it's called. Sometimes that can be really helpful. Oh, this is called grief. Grief is really hard to feel. It feels quite uncomfortable in the body for most people. But a lot of times they just need you to exist in their presence, loving them, focusing on your own grounding and regulation so that you can be the calm in their storm. You do not have to make the feelings go away. You don't need to distract them. You don't need to bribe them. You don't need to scream at them. You do not need to make them feel bad for having feelings or tell them that their feelings are disproportionate. Could they be? Sure. Then it's not really about the thing, right? If the child is, absolutely distraught because you threw away an old toy of theirs, that one's happened to me before. Maybe it's not about the toy, right? So there was a toy in our home, and it started to smell really, really badly because inside of it had grown mold. I had to throw this toy away. And I didn't think a whole lot of it because it had been sitting in our garage for like months. And I knew that one of my children had played with it in the time that we had lived in this home, but it was back in the garage again. So my understanding of the importance of this item was very low. I was like, whatever. It's disgusting. I'm throwing it away. And it's gone. So a couple months later, the child wanted this toy, this specific toy. And I said, I threw it away. It got mold in it. It's really yucky. It's not safe to play with. And the amount of grief that poured from that child surprised me, shocked me, made me a little uncomfortable because it was long and loud. I'm talking 2 hours of sobbing. So did the crying hurt him? No. Did it hurt me? No. Did he feel seen and heard in it? Yes. So therefore, did it make him more resilient, more emotionally informed, intelligent? Yes. Did it make our bond more secure because I could bear witness to his suffering and believe him and believe in him? Yes. Did we get through it? Yes. Was he grieving the toy? No. That was the catalyst. He was grieving losing his home, losing his place in the family. He never grieved those things. He moved from the only state he'd ever known to a new state, to a new house. And then within 2 months, there was a baby. And he lost his place in the family. He lost being the youngest, being the cute one, being the baby. He lost all of that. And he took it on the chin. He handled it well. But he never had the opportunity for something to trigger that release. So he just held it. And that was what he was really grieving. He was grieving all of the loss and all of the change and all of the lack of control and the things that would happen to him that he didn't have a say in. And that was hard to watch, especially because I kind of caused all that. But I also know that he is entitled to feel. He is entitled to grieve. He is entitled to be a human with the full expression of emotion. And if that needed to be the catalyst for him to really feel and move through those hard things in his life and not hold and store trauma in his body, I'll take those 2 hours of sitting with him. And as he started to come out of it, sometimes he would repeat a sentence just to bring more tears out. We do that too. And then eventually he got to a point where he started to feel better. He started to feel capable of calming and regulating. And I held him. And we kind of swayed and rocked until he felt grounded again. And it was okay. Was it easy? I would not say so. But it was okay. Sometimes feeling our feelings isn't easy. Sometimes it's incredibly messy. But there's an entire world of adults that numb themselves out because they never learned how to feel. So when I talk about feeling your feelings and allowing your children to feel their feelings, I can't overstate how important that is for their overall emotional health, for their development, for their moving into place in society and being somebody that can contribute to good. It's essential. Which brings us back to the question, are you really holding space? Do you say you're holding space, but really you are wanting them to like suck it up and get over it? Do you say you're holding space, but you have an agenda? Do you say you're holding space, but you're telling them how to fix it? Holding space. Now, sometimes holding space is really fast. Okay. Mom, I thought we were going to do this today, and then that didn't happen. Oh, yeah, that's disappointing. I would feel frustrated too. Well, I don't like it. I hear you. Can we do it another day? That's an idea. We could do that. I think you're going to forget. That is a fair thing to think. I have forgotten quite a few things, haven't I? Can you put it on your calendar? Sure thing, buddy. Okay. Right? Sometimes that's what holding space is. They tell you what they're thinking. They feel annoyed and frustrated. You're not correcting their emotional experience. You're hearing them. Maybe labeling what they're feeling if they feel like hearing it, if that seems like it would be helpful. Maybe just sitting there quietly and trusting that this is a valuable part of the process. Letting that energy move through their body. They're not going to get stuck forever. It seems like it, especially on the really long ones. They're not. If you start to get into your head and you start adding all of your stories into it, you're going to be very unhappy in that process. Go back to, I am safe. Feelings are safe. All of them. They can't hurt me. They can't hurt them. It's safe to feel my feelings and let the energy flow through me. Ground your body if you need to. Taking deep breaths is a way to do that. Literally planting your feet on the ground is a way to do that. Looking around and finding 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 can be a thing. Sometimes using some sort of sensory thing for your own comfort, like a stuffy or a cat or dog or pet, of some kind, that can be a way to regulate. I obviously do it with my hair, right? Whatever you need to do to regulate your nervous system and what comes up for you, right? If you feel your own shame come up, feel that. You're such a bad mom. How could you throw that away? Oh, that doesn't feel very good. Interesting. You're going to create trauma. You've scarred him for life. Wow, you're really worried about this one. Interesting. You just let it come, let it go. Sort of like meditation, I think. It's definitely mindfulness. Let it flow. After your child's through all of their feelings, big or small, then you go to yourself and you do the same thing for you. What part of yourself thinks it's necessary to label you as a crappy mom? Why? What's their goal? What's the goal of that part? They're hoping to help you be better. Can they see that that strategy makes you feel worse? Can they use a new strategy to help you do better? Right? It might just be decision making. I told him at that point, hey, I am so sorry that this shocked you and that you weren't expecting it and that I threw away something that you cared about. I understand why you're hurting, why that hurts your feelings. Next time I have to throw something away, I'll make sure that I let you know first. Okay? And I did. We had to throw away a Halloween decoration maybe a year later. And I told him we had to throw it away. And he really didn't want to. He was so sad. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's tough. It's disintegrating. So it has to go. And he found a solution. He took a picture of it, him holding it, and then he let it go without any issue. Because he had already grieved loss and lack of control and change. This was a much smaller feeling. It was like disappointment, maybe. So he felt it, came up with an answer for himself, and he moved on. And that's the goal. It's not the goal to make the feelings go away. The goal is for them to feel safe enough to feel them. When we rush in to change it and rush in to erase it and rush in to make it go away as quick as possible, we teach them that feelings are scary, that they can't feel them, that they can't trust themselves to feel what they need to feel. So they start to numb out. They start to dissociate. They start to use whatever things to distract themselves the way that most people do. And they lose the opportunity to release that energy so it doesn't get stuck inside. So, do you have to be perfect at this? No. Just like everything else in parenting, you don't have to be perfect. Just keep practicing. When you tell your kid enough already and you catch it and you're going, oh, dang it, I'm not supposed to do that. Love and compassion for both of you. You know what, bud? I don't need to tell you to be done. If you still need to be sad about that video game, that's okay. I am starting to feel irritated myself. So I'm going to go feel my feelings in my room for a couple minutes and I'll come back when I feel calm again. You don't need to beat yourself up. You don't need to add all the labels. You're a human. You're going to have all the human feelings too. That's not your child's fault, but they live with you. So they're probably going to see them sometimes. Just own it. Make your decisions that you need to make to support yourself. Move on. Okay. And you can start this at any time. I mean, I just spent the entire weekend with people who have never experienced somebody holding space for their story, for their feelings, for their experience. Watching them experience that for the first time. All adults, no kids were allowed here at this one. So it's profoundly healing, even in your 30s, 40s, 50s. Why would it be pointless when you're 5, 6, 7? Right? Go feel your feelings, whatever they are, all of them. The good, the bad, people love to label. We all love it. It helps us to categorize the world. I think I prefer the labels of comfortable and uncomfortable because it's a little bit more relevant to how it feels in your body, right? Good and bad seems to assume that somebody somewhere has authority over what feelings you should feel. I don't like that narrative. So I'm going with comfortable and uncomfortable. It might be comfortable to feel happy. It might be uncomfortable to feel like joy, like real deep joy. It might be comfortable to feel kind of sad. It might be uncomfortable to feel deep grief. It might be comfortable to feel neutral and even a little bit sad, kind of makes you panic, right? It's okay to feel all of it. If you're not sure how, I posted recently on my Instagram a feelings wheel to help you practice. Do I feel any of these feelings? Is there anything underneath that? Is there any more specificity to it? If you are starting to label your feelings or their feelings with categories of judgment, good, bad, whatever, try completely neutral labels. What color is that feeling? It sounds weird, but it helps you stay in that observant place. Does it move? Where is it in your body? Is it hot or cold? Is it big or small? Does it have any pokey spots or is it smooth? Right? And asking questions like that allows you to stay in the seat of the observer, to watch the feeling move through you instead of becoming trapped inside of the feeling. So those same speakers I referenced talk about being with your feeling instead of in it. And I think it's really valuable information. So hopefully this helps you to hold space for your littles, feel confident holding space for your littles, and hold space for yourself because you all deserve it. If you need more customized help for your family, or you feel like, yeah, but my kids' emotions are like really over the top all of the time, well, can we do something about that? Maybe. Because sometimes if a kid is really triggered a lot of the time, there's something else going on. There's something that's making their nervous system really close to the edge. So the tiniest thing sets them over. And those are questions worth observing and trying to mediate for everyone's sake, for the child's sake. For us, it turned out our kid was sensitive to gluten. I know that food dyes make my kids' nervous systems go haywire. So food can be a big thing. Mouth breathing can be a huge contributing factor to massive emotional outbursts because they're not getting enough airflow. Quality airflow like impacts the brain, So are there things on a grand big picture level that you could do to make it easier for your child to stay relatively regulated? Of course there are. But when you're in an outburst, when you're in the emotion, that's not the time. In that moment, we're going to feel. We're going to hold the container and let those feelings move through. Afterwards, we can look back and see what information we can gather and what problem solving we can do. And if you need help with that, you can set up a free call at bit.ly/callsammy, and I'm happy to help. And we can figure out, what tools and stuff would be best for your family. So I'll talk to you later. Thank you for being here. Bye.